Hello everyone. We're just about up to the point where you guys will be having a go at the topic tests. Before we do that, here's a short little lesson where we're just going to go through some of the terms that have happened within the trigonometry topic, just to ensure that you understand what each of the terms mean to give you the best possible chance for your topic tests coming up in the next lesson. All right, so I'll go through the first one for you guys, just so you can see what you need to do. For those that complete this activity from the geometry topic, you will already know, but for everyone else that's seeing this for the first time and has no idea really what they're looking at, I will do this first one as an example. And then there's a couple ones for you guys to do as well. Ideally, you would write it down and actually do it yourself. If you've only got, a few minutes up your sleeve, then, I guess you could just internally do it in your mind. But anyway, let's go with the first one. So the first term, which we see a lot in trigonometry, is the term hypotenuse. So what do we do? The first section, what is it? This is where we write down what it is. So the hypotenuse, it is the longest side of a right-angled triangle. The next step, what do we know about it? So you would put down, now again, what you would write down will obviously be worded a little bit different to what someone else is. There's probably lots of different things we know about it. You just need to give one or two things, that you know about it, just in your own words. In this case, what I'm going to write it is always opposite the 90-degree angle, or in other words, the right angle. Okay, for the examples section, this is where you give an example of a hypotenuse. So for me, the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to do a diagram. And within that diagram, I'm then just going to highlight the hypotenuse, and I'll put in that little arrow to show, hey, it was opposite the right angle. So that's what I'm going to do for my examples. I'm just going to give an example of the hypotenuse. For the non-examples section, this is where you would give something similar but actually isn't a hypotenuse. And again, the reason for this is it really helps with your understanding to look at, okay, well, what is it, but what isn't? So an example of a non-example would be something like this. Let's say, we've got a triangle that was shocking. And there we go. And if I went to go ahead and highlight the longest side here, so again, we've got the longest side of a triangle, but this here is not a hypotenuse. And why is that? Well, it's because the triangle is not right angled. That angle there looks, approximately 100, 110 degrees. Either way, it's not a right angle, so that's not a hypotenuse. So this is how it works. So there's a couple terms from trigonometry that I want you guys to go through. And for each part, you just have the 4 sections to have a go at. And again, the idea is at the end of it, you have a better understanding of the terms. Now, hypotenuse, you guys probably already knew really well, a pretty easy one. This is just an example to show you how to do it. Along with the first term here that I'm going to get you guys to do yourselves, it's also a pretty easy one just to practice the skill, and then we'll move on to the final 2, which are sort of the main ones that I'm really wanting us to target. All right, so pause the video, have a quick go through the 4 different sections. Once you've got your answers, unpause the video. I'll go through and answer myself. Don't stress if your answers are different to mine, that's obviously going to happen. But, you should be able to, from looking at mine, be able to see if you're on the right track or not. And hopefully you got some value out of it. Okay, so what is it? So for this, I'm going to put a triangle containing a 90-degree or right angle. that's what it is. What do we know about it? Well, we know the longest side will always be opposite. There's lots of different things you could have wrote here. You could have wrote, what do we know about it? Well, it has a 90-degree angle. The other two angles would be less than 90, right? Because they would need to add up to 90 themselves. It's got three sides. There's lots of things we know about it. You just need to list one or two, really. I just listed the one that I thought was maybe most applicable to trigonometry. Examples. So what's an example of a right angled triangle? So this is going to be pretty simple, right? Just pretty much replicating what I did the last time. I forgot to choose that setting. There's a setting on this app where it like turns it into nice straight edges. But anyway, so here's an example of a right angled triangle. An example, and the non-example for this, I'm just going to do, a triangle that's not right angled. Or, if I wanted to like just do something that's not even a triangle, whatever. Okay, next one. All right, so the angle of elevation. Right, so we saw this right towards the end of trigonometry. Yes, there's going to be a question in your topic test on angle of elevation. What does it mean? All right, so pause the video, have a go at answering the 4 different parts. Once you've got answers for them, unpause the video. I'll go through my answers. Okay, so what is it? I'm going to put here, it is, and I didn't go back off this setting. It's the angle above the horizontal. What do we know about it? Well, we know it's is an angle. I guess that's the most simple thing. It's above the horizontal, I guess. It comes up a lot in trig questions. I know there's other things you could write down there, I guess. All right, example of an angle of elevation. I guess the most classic example would be angle a plane takes off. That's going to be my example of an angle of elevation, right? I might even just do a diagram here. There's the ground. Here is a plane that's taking off. And this here would be our angle of elevation. All right, a non-example. So a non-example would be, let's say, hypothetically, we have, here. That angle right there. It's an angle between two sides, just like our example was, right? This angle over here, if I go back to my example, that's an angle between two sides. What made that one an angle of elevation and the other one not? And it is because this side is horizontal, or at least it was meant to be. The angle of elevation is, as we saw from the first part, the angle above the horizontal. So this one here is not an angle of elevation because this side was not horizontal. All right, final term for you guys today. Nice, quick, easy one. The angle of depression, what is it? So pause the video, have a go at the 4 parts. Once you've got solutions, unpause the video. I'll go through some possible answers. So what is it? I'm just going to write, it is the angle below the horizontal. What do we know about it? So if you remember our questions from angle of depression, we often use alternate angles, that year 7 skill, the Z shape, to find included angle. What I mean by included angle, I mean the angle inside the triangle. It's like the angle included in the triangle. So use alternate angles to find included angle. I guess that's probably the most important skill for us. I'll actually put that in the examples so you really understand what I mean by that. For my example, let's have a look at an angle of depression. So here I'm going to have, well, let's say we've got the plane, it's flying along nice and straight, gets to this point right here. There it is. If it continued going straight, as you can see, it would continue going across. But instead, the plane's going to land, so it starts coming down. This here, this angle below the horizontal, is the angle of elevation. Right, so that's my example. I'm going to just complete the triangle here because I want to show you what I mean by we use alternate angles, right? If you've forgotten that lesson from last week, or maybe you skipped it, I'm not going to lie, there was only about 60 of you that watched that lesson. So there's half the people in the course that did not do the angles of elevation and depression lesson. I get that. It was the final one of the week. It sort of seems to happen the first couple lessons, most people do, and then it sort of drops off a bit. But anyway, if we had this angle of depression, Z shape, this angle down here would actually be the same size as it. What's kind of cool about that is we now have an angle that belongs inside the triangle. So if that makes sense. We use alternate angles. All right, my non-example for an angle of depression, I guess, I could just do the same sort of thing I did for the angle of elevation. Have an angle, it looks okay-ish, but the issue is there's no horizontal. So although this angle here is like the angle below this line, it is the angle below this line, but since that line wasn't horizontal, this is not an angle of depression, it's just a normal angle. All right, anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully this helped cement some of the different terms that have happened in this topic. Definitely make sure, you practice a little bit trigonometry just in general before you go ahead and have a go at that quiz. But again, with that being said, the topic test is what I'm talking about on Canvas. Don't stress, just try your best. And, if you get a great score, that's fantastic. If the score's not as great as what you're used to getting, that's to be expected. Let's be perfectly honest. You are learning at home in an online environment. It's not ideal. Anyway, best of luck with everything, and I'll see you guys next time.